Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. So, in today's podcast, I have somebody that, by the way, the music you heard and I talked about it is from Jenner from Studio Stargazer. And I had him a few times on my show, Jenner, because I love Jenner. Officially, just said to dad right here, because I have another guest here today, and it is Jenner's dad, which is awesome because I wanted his dad to be on my podcast as well because I had a lot of questions. So, first, just to give you a little bit of a background, um, he is, first of all, he's retired. He's a retiree, so every day is a Friday. We cannot say that in the wrong way. So, and he has the pleasure to tell everybody around this is Friday every day. You gotta love it. But he is a very gifted person. First of all, he's a master woodworker, and even though he's not gonna admit it officially, I have heard from a little bird named Jenner that he is extremely gifted with woodwork, who is doing not only remodeling in a beautiful house, and I'm gonna have to ask for the pictures later on. Then also used to be and is a Navy veteran, and he works for many years at Belly Up Tavern and also worked at Saturn Car Company. So, hi, Greg. How are you doing today?
I am great. As I said, every day when you're retired is great. Um, am busy. I still pretty much work a regular schedule every day. It's just an abbreviated schedule, and it's kind of the things that I want to do now instead of what somebody else wants me to do. So it's good. It's a great thing. I've been retired for almost going on a year. It'll be a year at the first of the year. So what is that? 10 months I've been retired.
Okay, so basically, are you turning people nuts because you're retired or not? That's the first question. Because when people retired, generally their spouse, children, they go and they are nonstop. They are harassing people. They don't have anything else better to do than just get on everybody else's nerves. Do you do that?
No, I keep very busy. We're as time goes by, we're my wife and I are kind of generating a schedule to where we get up at a certain hour, we have breakfast at a certain hour, we get out and go walking at a certain hour, and then we're coming back, and then I've got my day's work, and we sandwich lunch in there. Then usually by 3, 4 in the afternoon, we start thinking about the evening and catch up on the news of the day, and then go into movie mode maybe later on, or if we're going out or something like that, then we'll do that. But it's it's still kind of a schedule, and I think that's important because you have to have um, something to do. So, and I think a lot of people fail at retirement because and I've known people, they say, yeah, they say they're retired, and I say, well, how do you like that? And they say, I'm bored. I'm bored out of my mind. Well, you're bored out of your mind because you haven't figured out a way to motivate yourself to do, things that you want to get done. That, and if not for yourself, then maybe for somebody else. So you can always stay busy somehow. It's very, very easy to stay busy.
I like that. I liked you already had something going on as well. Plus, it gives opportunity to do something that you really like. So now I'm curious about the woodwork, because it looks like, for the life you had working at Saturn, the belly up, Navy, where is the inspiration to work with wood? Where is it
Yeah,
coming from?
that actually came from it goes way, way, way back to when I was a kid. I grew up in the '60s, basically. I mean, I was born in '56. We were very much latchkey children, and I was born to a single mom, 3 kids, and we always had chores to do. And um, as I got a little older, my mom would complain about this being broken or that being broken. And I had a really great neighbor, two doors down, who knew a lot, and he acted kind of like a second dad to me. And he taught me a lot of things about home repair. And from that, uh, I went on to high school, and they still taught shop back in those days, and I took wood shop and auto shop, and enjoyed both of them quite a bit in high school. And so I wound up, um, you know, I wound up getting a degree out of San Diego State University, and then parlaying that into becoming a naval officer, which was a short career. It was only about 4.5 years. And then from there, I went into the car business, but um, I've always kept the woodworking kind of in the background, but something that I do for fun and something that I enjoy. And all, it's become so expensive that at this point, the woodworking, you have to recreate and repurpose things, and I do a lot of that. So I've repurposed um, construction 2x4s into a dining table, an eight
I
foot
was
long dining table.
I
And
was ready to say maybe you can go incognito, and please don't do that when I'm saying it, people. Incognito into the wood and start to cut the trees and incognito, you know, in the middle of the night, dragging that big tree back home and start to work with that. So basically, sorry, could not help myself when you say that, because that's true. The price of the wood went up last year, and even, yeah, last year. This year, it's
oh,
kind
it's
of a
yeah.
little bit better, but it's pretty horrifying for the price and the cost. So throughout the years, even in the Navy, when you were working in a car in the automotive industry, have you kept this going just for repair, or did you started to create piece of art or sculptures or something of that, something creative?
The woodworking it's a mixture of both. I've made some creative things, and I've been in this house with my wife for over 25 years now, and there's always something to do here. So it's a little of both. Lately, it- my my stepmother wanted a doorstop, and it was made out of it was a bird shape, and so I've been making bird doorstops for everybody for you know Christmas, end of the year. So um, we're thinking up little things here and there that we can put together that aren't horribly expensive and creative, and it's kind of a fun thing, and it keeps me entertained and busy, which is always important. So um, commercially, I'm not really interested in trying to sell what I make, but I do enjoy making things and then passing them along to other people.
Okay, so the knowledge required for that, I must say, must be very deep, which comes down to the woodwork. Excuse me, I should have had my glass of water and I did not. Great.
Mm,
I did not want it, and now I'm gonna need it. It's awesome.
mm.
So, looking at the woodwork, have you ever thought, because you have learned this and you have been practice and doing it and mastering it for so many years, have you ever thought to maybe doing recording some video so you can pass down your knowledge to people?
Hmm. I
Do you know
that's
why
a
I'm saying that? I'm going to tell you why. Because look at Stradivarius, who created those magnificent, and there is maybe five left, five or seven, I don't remember the number of violin. Nobody, even the technology we've got today, nobody is incapable to make those violins. So the person, Stradivarius, who was a master violinist to create those beautiful violins,
Mm-hmm.
passed away with his legacy. I'm going to use Plissé Fortuny. Fortuny was somebody who worked in fabrics, and he had a very specific plissé that nobody can reproduce. Nobody can do it. Now, you have that knowledge. Would you think that, because we're going to bring Jenner into the conversation, even though he's not allowed to talk, but I'm going to bring him into the conversation indirectly, your son, who owns Studio Stargazers, do videos, do fantastic. He's phenomenal. He's one person that I adore and I love very much. He's such a great creative mind.
Mm-hmm.
Could help you to create those, to pass it down, because you get that knowledge.
Hmm.
Have you ever thought about that? Since every day is a
I,
Friday.
for the most part, I've discovered that my son marches to kind of a different drum. He, not that he's not interested in things that I do, but he his interests are things that are out of the realm of my capability, like his music. I love his music, but I don't have the capability of making music. I am tone deaf, and my brain could not possibly make both of my hands work independently to create music. I love it, but it's out of the realm of what I am comfortable with,
So
and
record.
many things that Jenner likes are out of my realm of comfort. So,
But here's the deal: you can create a video without having your face on it, just your hands, and show how it works and teach
hmm,
people, pass down the legacy. And for him, because he can record, he can do the video and take care of that. Because I'm thinking he is a producer, so why not utilizing his skill set and no Jenner? Now he's popping his face in and out. He's like, oh boy, oh boy. But I'm thinking, you know, having the knowledge you've got, it would be such a waste to do not pass it on for others because, as I explained, he has those what you don't have, which mean the video recording, the producing, so you don't have to do anything except explain and teach how to.
hmm.
Or have you ever thought of doing some classes as a community college or something like that, just once a week teaching these arts? Because it's a dying arts, but we still need it.
Mm, yeah, not at this point. Not I don't feel like I'm no matter how much I learn, feel like I'm not at the level where I'm a master of anything. I'm a kind of a jack of all trades, but master of none. So I know a little bit about a lot of things, um, but the woodworking and that is something that it's a hobby to keep me busy, but it's not within my realm at this point to become a master of it. Now that may change. I may figure out how to make a musical instrument. I may figure out how to make something new, and that may become a passion for me. And I don't
But
know whether that will happen anytime soon. But at this point, and for the last few years, as far as Jenner is concerned, what I've wanted to pass down to him has been, um, you know, basically coping skills, dealing with life, thoughts on religion, thoughts on um, how to get
wisdom.
things done.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, yeah,
At some level.
parental wisdom. You're learning the hard way and what you've learned the hard way, and passing
Exactly.
that along to him.
Now I want to go back because I'm going to push back to you on this one. You made a statement that's very interesting. Actually, the gift you've got for the woodworking, it doesn't need to be a brand new piece of something because you mentioned to me you kind of refurbish, you reuse, repurpose. And when people, do Doing brand new thing with wood, fantastic. But when you can show people how to repurpose things, it gives ideas. So think about this one. I don't want an answer, Greg, but think about what you have done and how it can help. Because when you're looking at master, and I really like the fact that you're extremely humble, because some people say, I'm a master, and it's like, okay, good for you. But generally, a master never said they are masters on what they do. They are student. They will continue to be student. But what you do is repurposing the woods. So to me, is a very essential key when you create. You can take a piece, and I've seen it with people who are close to me, who can take something that already exists and transform, elevate, modify it. So it doesn't
Hmm.
have to be a blank canvas. Not everybody does that. That blank canvas when you build from scratch or you create something from scratch. But think about this, because I believe it will be interesting for people to see these kind of arts, this kind of what you do with the wood, and see how it can be repurposed. It gives great ideas for people. You have no idea. It's like you're looking at something on YouTube and like, holy moly, I would never think about doing this with that, or how to fix it, or how to modify it. It's amazing. So think
Hmm.
about this. Now, talking back about, we're gonna pick on Jenner. Where did he got that talent? Because to me, I'm always amazed. It's like a ghostwriter composing the music he composed. Because the intro that I have from my podcast, I never asked Jenner to do that, but he came out of his heart, decided to create that intro for me, which is absolutely fantastic. He
He
has
was
such a keen sense of words, of I don't know if he shared the journey to Saturn, but the wordings, the music is amazing. He's an absolutely genius in what he does, even though he's more an autodidact than a trained musician. He has the ears, he has the instinct, and he's really capable to do things that are magical. So is your wife and you were a creative mind, or how did he come, or just look at your son and say, this is a pure
he
accident?
was he was born with it. He was born with that talent. He took maybe one or two piano lessons as a kid. He did I think one little piano recital, but all of his talent is all self-generated. He was born with it. He he was born a complete individual, and there was very little shaping or changing required or allowed. I mean, he as I said, he marches to his own drum, and he was very willful about being who he is, and he's done just a wonderful job of becoming a completely autonomous individual with just remarkable talent. And I no one on my side of the family had any musical talent whatsoever. His mother's father sang in the choir, but Jenner just he sat down at a piano and just started playing, and he can play anything that you want him to play. And you're right, he hasn't taken a lot of lessons. He's not a critically acclaimed pianist. He hasn't studied it his whole life, but he has the capability of just sitting down at an instrument and creating something beautiful. And he's I tried to get him, well, why don't you learn to read music, why don't you learn to write music? And he's like, well, I don't really need to do that. I can do everything that I want with music on a computer. And I'm going, oh well. So I have to watch how I influence him, because I'm old school and I have old ideas of how do you do this, how do you do that. Well, you go to school, you study, you go to Juilliard, you go this, that, and the other place. But in his mind, he can create and do anything he wants, and he's you know I think, like me, he's probably a type A personality where he wants to keep busy with a lot of different projects. um, but he's gone about a different route than I would have gone. So, um, and I've discovered that about life is that people often choose very very different routes from how do they get from point A to point B, and we're inherently taught, as kids and all through our lives that we should do it this way, this way, this way, this way, and this way, and this way. And then once you grow up and you realize there are people, that are very, very successful that aren't doing it that way. So, I think parental knowledge is a good thing in some cases, but I think it's also can be very limiting because parents don't know everything. They're not. They're not. They're not the center of the universe. And for Jenner, he learned how to become very successful at what he wants to be, and he did it all himself. I think he's probably an older soul and that he was born with it,
Hmm.
and he's an artist, and
Hmm.
he's an artist again, and he will be an artist in the future. And worker bees like me don't necessarily understand artists, but we can appreciate their art.
Oh, I
So,
totally agree with you. So, when did you first discover all of his gifts and how did you cope with that? Seriously, with your wife and say, oh boy, that is something we did not planning on that. So, when did
um,
you discover he was that gifted?
um, that's a good question because he did take the piano lessons and a few, and then I probably started buying him keyboards, like little Casio keyboards, and he started. It was kind of a slow roll kind of development to where he shared it with us. Um, he had some turbulent teens, and unfortunately, his mother and I, divorced, and so I wasn't privy to the day by day of his life. But the musical talent um, just developed over time, and it was very, very natural for him. Very natural. His mother was Scottish, English and Scottish descent, so she got the children into the girls into Highland dancing, and um, he learned to play bagpipes and
No
picked
way.
it picked it up right away. I mean, you know, he's just he's just he just amazes me, that he can do these kind of things, and really without a lot of input from other people. He just has this innate ability to create art
Hmm.
um, without much direction. So,
Oh, yes. And so are the words too, because he's very impactful at the level of his words. It's very touching. It's like I said, Journey to Saturn has been a fantastic experience for me. Reading his work, really, you could feel and sense the intensity and the energy he puts into the words. And the music is even more amazing. So for me, listening to him, it's like, as I say, it's similar to a ghostwriter. It's the magic. It's like, oh boy, who would ever think about that? And I'm a creative person, but I am not a genius like he is. I must recognize my limitation. I can draw, I can do good things by drawings, but for the beauty of the music and how he compose, to me, it's like, oh my goodness, it's a different level. So that's why I wanted to know, how do you cope or seeing him evolving as a kid before he became a teenager, and maybe ask yourself, okay, what is he going to do now? He's not going to be a firefighter, he's not going to be a banker. How do you deal with the creativity and the sense, because I'm assuming you had a sense that, like you said earlier, he's going to decide what he wants to decide to do.
right, and that's a hard lesson learned. You know, my brother is a classic example of that. My brother uh, did poorly in school. Uh, he actually went to junior college for about 20 years. He managed to go to junior college for about 20 years, but he was into pottery. He was into art. Um, he he never My brother never really had a full-time job in his life. He 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 found a way to get by. Sometimes he depended on other people. Sometime he lived on the street, but most of the time he found a way to to make it and to be the person that he wanted to be without, if you're going back to the 60s and everybody's talking about working for the man and the hippies and all that generation, he really took that to the extreme, to where he, you know, decided that he was who he was going to be, and he created his own art. And I suppose if Jenner really takes after anybody, he takes after his uncle, because um, he does march to that unique drum. And and my brother, my mother used to uh, be so upset, because as she was, you know, getting ready to pass away, she lamented, who's going to take care of him? How will he live? How will he survive? What's going to happen to him? She worried so much about who he would become. And then she passed away, and nothing for him really changed. He found a different way of moving. He found a different way of living. He he never really changed who he was, though. He was not going to be somebody that was going to work 9 to 5. He was not going to be somebody who was going to conform. He was not going to be somebody that anybody expected him to be. He was gonna create. He was gonna sit on his couch and smoke a lot of dope. And me being the judgmental, person that I was, I didn't. I had a really hard time accepting him for who he was. But in the long run, who's to say that, I'm right and he's wrong? You can't do it. You can't. People live their lives the way they want to live their lives, and um, through art, through talent, through common sense, through whatever means they choose, they make their way in life, whether they have their parents' blessing or not, whether they have society's blessing. People tend to live the way they want to live. And that's the way my brother lived, and that's the way Jenner lives. He lives the way he wants to live, and he creates beautiful art, and he's got great talent, and he will leave probably much more behind for this world to enjoy than I've left. So, who am I to say he's not right and I'm wrong? Maybe I'm just wrong being a parent, growing up in the 60s and thinking that you got to go to work from 9 to 5 every day.
No, I don't think it's the 60s. I think it's, as a parent, and it's not only you, but I think all parents want best. And some of them wants to make sure their children go to college, have a job, sustain their life. Some wants to live their dream through their children. They did not do. Some want to push their children to be doctors, but they don't allow the children to be who they're meant to be, to let them have their own free will. Because at the end of the day, we are born where we are born, but we have a purpose. We come here for a life purpose that might not match what our legacy and our parents want. And that's why I think the hardest part for children who are artists like Jenner, or creative, who are not, like you said at the beginning of the conversation, beats on the sound of their own drums. And I've done that all of my life. So I sounded crazy, I sounded lunatic, I sounded, for my parents who never understood me, especially my mom, she never had a clue, and she's still not, who I am, because she doesn't understand.
Right,
And I
right.
think one thing that parents need to understand is you provide all of the tools. You're teaching your child the tools to live, to survive. But you should not influence them at the end of the day because they will be resentful. Some children are resentful because they miss their calling, because they wanted to please the parents or they didn't have a choice. They had to follow what they were being told to do. But realizing that Jenner at a young age was his own master must have been a big challenge for you, who is somebody who, again, had a very strong ideas of what he should be doing. It must have been a battle for your own self, internal battle to, being challenged.
I I tried not to live my life giving him all of my parental values, and the reason for that is um, my mother passed away when he was about 2 years old, and I wasn't really close to my father, and he passed away about 10 years later. So, uh, but what I figured out after my parents passed away and I had time to reflect, um, I took them down off of their pedestals and that I had put them on their whole lives, and I realized that they were just people,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, they certainly had their good points and they certainly had their faults, and they tried to shape my life the way they thought that it should be lived, and um, I didn't want to do that to my kids, and so I didn't. The only real problem with Jenner growing up was that he didn't want to go to school. He didn't want to get out of bed. He didn't want to. He didn't. You know,
Jenner.
Jenner likes staying awake all night long, but Jenner does not like getting up and conforming in the morning. And his mother would call me, and she was like, "I'm gonna drag him to school naked. I don't care." He won't get up. He won't get up. You've got to do something. Well, you're in Idlewild, and I'm in Santee. What
Yep.
would you like me to do about it? Well, you got to yell at him. Well, I had a really, really hard time staying angry at Jenner ever in his life. I just couldn't stay angry at him. When he was small, he was a beautiful little boy, and he was a little rapscallion, I would call him. But I couldn't stay mad at him. I couldn't play that role of the mean dad. And then he grew up into a teenager. And he had all teenage type problems, and I just tried to tell him, it's okay. It's okay for you to be you. You know, do the best you can. Make the best out of your situation. Try not to drive your mother nuts. But be the person that you want to be and be happy. If you can take care of yourself and you can be happy, you got the world in your hands. You can be anything that you want to be. So I tried not to judge him for who he was.
Now
Because
you're talking about him dragging him out of the bed in the morning. What is because we're talking about somebody who's a very strong-minded as Jenner, which I love. What is the naughtiest things he ever done as a kid?
the naughtiest thing he ever did as a kid.
Yeah, I want to know.
uh, uh, the two things that really stand out in my mind happened uh, in the last few months that I was living with him full time, and that was we had a brand new house. My first wife and I bought a brand new house. We waited for it to be built in Oceanside, or San Marcos rather, and um, Jenner loved to play with his sisters all the time, and he did two things in particular that stood out. One was he poked a hole through the screen in the window in his bedroom, and then decided to urinate out on the lawn.
My God. Who came up with that idea? Why?
Yeah, I don't know how you ever come up with that sort of idea.
You never
And
ask him why?
and the other thing that he did that really stood out was he took all of his sister's Barbie dolls, and he took them all apart and tried to flush all of them down the toilet. And I came home and I wound up having to take the toilet completely out and fish all the Barbies out of the toilet the wrong way because they were all jammed in there 7 ways from Sunday. Those,
Oh,
yeah, those are
those
the
are
two
interesting
incidents that really
things.
yeah, it was. But you know, even then, I couldn't really get mad at him. I just couldn't stay mad at
You
him.
know,
For one, it was so damn funny, and you
yeah.
know, how do you get mad when your wife says, "Do you know what your son did today?" And I say, "What?" And he goes, "He stuck his wiener out the window and urinated in the yard." And I'm laughing.
I would have been laughing.
I'm laughing my ass off. It's like he's like, "You've got to go do something about this," and I'm like, "Seriously, what would you like me to do without laughing hysterically?" I
Yeah,
just couldn't be mad about it.
you
So
cannot punish the boy. He got a great idea. He was,
yeah,
it's not. And plus, think about it. It saved time instead of going to the bathroom. Open the door, get up. No, you just slide the window up and just stick it out there, and you're done. That's all. School. It's just. And Jenner is still not allowed to talk, guys. That's why. So he can listen what we're saying, but he cannot talk. Oh my God. So that's amazing.
he's a great son. Let's put it that way. He's a great son, and I enjoy him immensely, and I rarely, rarely get mad at him. Usually, if the only time I've really gotten really mad at him was when I had too much wine to drink, and that was my fault. So, uh, he is a very strong-willed individual,
Mhm.
and you have to learn to accept people for who they are, and
Mhm.
that's who he's going to be. And I
Mhm.
respect him. I love him, and I wish, everything the best for him. And that's all I can do, and that's what I want to do. I just want to be, that the parent that loves him, and you know, do anything I can for him.
And I think he knows that. I think he loves you dearly, and I think yes, beautiful heart, Jenner. And I think it's the same. He really loves you and adore you, and really, really appreciate it. Plus, you do a podcast with him as well on Sundays, isn't it?
Every once in a while, yeah, we've done a couple. Yeah, and they've kind of been largely focused on religion, wisdom, life lessons, things that I can pass on to him as a father. That you know, things that have taken me years to learn. That you know,
That's what.
I want to pass those things on to him.
Oh, that's wonderful. Plus, we all have our life lessons, and sometimes we drag our feet to learn it. Sometimes we don't want to learn. So the longest it takes us to do it, the longest is it to get rid of it and just say, okay, I learn it. But sometimes we drag our feet, so the lesson takes a little stretch longer than usual. But I like the fact that you want to pass to him what you have learned in those
Mm.
life lessons so he doesn't repeat them. That to me will be a good thing for parents who are listening, our future parents, that teach your children those life lessons and how to avoid them so they don't have to repeat them and do the work that you already have, passing down the knowledge. So I think it's great. It's fantastic.
I think if you can focus on that, you stand a better chance of succeeding. If you tell your child something that you did and why it didn't work and what the negative impact of that was, yeah, I think it's a lot more meaningful than sitting there and telling them what they should do and who they should become and
I
which
think
what your expectation of them is. So
yes, because you let your child be who they're supposed to be. You let their spirit become who they're supposed to be, which is very, very hard for some parents. Some parents do free range, which is kind of a little wild at some point, not teaching any good skill set or anything to the child, which to me is a mistake. But at least teaching them the fundamental, the base for them to be able to utilize, and let them make their mistakes, let them walk the work they're supposed to, and learn their life lessons as well, and try and stop to cocoon them, so to try to overprotect them, so they should not experience anything else. Like, yeah, they will experience life no matter what you're saying, or what you're trying to stop them, or stop to mold them to something they're not.
Right. That's the worst. I think that's positively the worst thing you can possibly do is try to make your child something that they're clearly not. It's
Which
just,
I was the
it's
luckiest of the three, actually, because my mom didn't know what to do with me. So it helped the cause. She had no clue. Nothing to mold here. It was just like, yeah, we passed. There's no hope here over the rainbow, which was an advantage for me. But it's hard when parents really focus on their dreams, or the dreams of to become, I don't know, a doctor or whatever, and they just put all of those into a child, which brings more pressure. Now, for somebody like Jenner, who's a creative mind, it must be very interesting to go and grow with him, trying to understand, like you said, your set of mind is different than his. So for somebody who's more creative, is more fluid, to somebody like you who's, okay, we're learning this, we're doing this, really follow the pattern, it must been, as I said earlier, it must be a challenge, but it's maybe open a little bit more your mind as well.
well, um, my greatest concern is, as a parent, is him being able to take care of himself, after I'm gone, and um, he shows every indication that he's going to be able to do that. So I'm comfortable in allowing him, or not allowing. Allowing is the wrong word. I'm comfortable in enjoying the time that we have together with who he wants to be,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and and that's a very different equation than I grew up with. I mean,
Yeah.
I told you I went in the Navy. I went in the Navy primarily because my mother wanted me to go in the Navy. Now, that would be fine and good. I mean, it was rewarding because I'd never had more respect in my life as being a naval officer. You get a lot of respect, but that was her projection of what I should be, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that I'm a homebody. I like being home. I like being around family and friends, and I don't like being gone away from home a long time. And when I was in the Navy, I was gone 300 days out of the year, sometimes 7.5 months at a time. And it's just, it's no way to live if you want to have a life or a family, or you know, and it's certainly not for a homebody. So for me to try and live up to my mother's expectations, it just wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And it made me realize that I have to do what I'm going to do. I have to become who I'm going to become, and I'm still trying to figure that one out. I mean, I'm retired, and I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. So it 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 it's never I've never gotten an answer yet, but
Yeah.
I'm having a good time finding it out. So
Good. And we go through the process, and I mentioned that too. We're living through the legacy of our parents, grandparents, whatever they set in motion. So, in the case like you talk, and I like the fact that you shared that story with us today, is the fact that the expectation of your parents, of your mom, wasn't what you wanted to do, but you did it but you got out of it too at the end of the day. You did not got there and stay there for the rest of your life, but you had to go through that moment in time to maybe close a door that your mom opened. It was necessary for you to do it for the few years that you have done, even though that wasn't your dream to start with.
It was a great experience and a really, you know, lonely and sad one at the same time. But you know, yeah, you have to look at the positives. I got to see, you know, more than half the world, and believe it or not, the water looks the same everywhere.
Well, good to know. But
Yeah, the water in the Indian Ocean looks the same as the water in the Pacific Ocean. Uh,
oh, but you know
but
what? It's interesting as well because you learned something when this happened. And I think you took it with you and you were able to apply it with Jenner, meaning you did not try to impose something different on him. And I think you learned this as you were in the Navy and we probably realized afterwards that, hey, by the way, this wasn't from me, it was mom, and I did this for mom. It wasn't what I wanted to do. So I think you did transfer that knowledge, that lesson right there
right,
was probably one of the key for you to do not try to do that
I,
to Jenner.
I stopped trying to be the, you know, the parent that was. I did not want to be the parent that was going to tell my children
Yeah,
what to do and who they should be and who they should become,
yeah.
because, as I said, the parents aren't necessarily right. You know,
No, and especially
Eh,
when it comes down to your kids, because people, we want to protect our children. We want the best for our children, but they have a life purpose. They have their path. And we, if we're doing this, are going to become the grain of salt in their lives. And we don't want that to become. So I think it's a very wise lessons you learned, and you were able to actually prevent the history to repeat itself. You broke the cycle, which is great.
right,
Hmm.
right.
I think it's very powerful. I think it's very good. And Jenner, no crying, nothing, no words, nothing. It's shutting on the camera. We do not
you,
want any tears. But it's
you
pretty
know,
powerful. I love that.
you,
I think it's something that Jenner is conscious about it, or if he's not, he is now. But I think it's good to hear from a father, from a parent, what you have done, because it can open the eyes of other parents who want the best, but they need to realize you're here to teach them, then you need to let them be,
right. They're
which is hard.
they're they're largely hardwired to become who they're going to become, and
Exactly.
um, he evidenced that from day one. So um, I recognized it. I recognized that he was going to be who he was going to be, and I certainly didn't fight it. Um,
Exactly.
you know, I yeah, you have to celebrate people for who they are. The
Hmm.
world needs, and I've told him, the world needs all kinds of people. The world needs, you know, ditch diggers and carpenters and bakers and nail salon experts and, you know, philosophers and authors and you name it. The world needs all kinds of people. There's a niche for you somewhere. Just find that niche and pursue it and figure out how you can, you know, not only enjoy it but make a living at it, so that, you know, so that you're not really working, you're just enjoying what you're doing with your life.
I totally agree. And I think he's doing it very well and he's learning it more and more. And his creativity is getting stronger and stronger, which is beautiful. He is, as I said, has such a way with music, the words as well that go with the music. Because um, if people want to check Studio Stargazers, you would be amazed not only the albums, but Journey to Saturn, listen to his podcast, Wave. It's amazing what, as a genius, because for me, he is a genius. He's an autodidact, which I am an autodidact, so it's funny because between autodidacts, we know who we are. But it's very beautiful to see somebody who's capable to such a wide range. And as you said and pointed out, he can play any freaking instrument at any given time, which
Mm-hmm.
not everybody can do that. But he can hear the music, compose the music. And there is, I don't remember if it was Mozart, I don't remember who was composed the music in the past. I forgot the name of the musician and wasn't even formally trained to write music, but he
Right.
was doing it on a piano. So
Right.
gift can be come from different way, and when you got such a strong spirit and way of creation, to me is amazing. To me, I'm amazed for people who create music. I'm amazed for people who can put those words and together as well. And as I said, it's amazing, it's empowering, and to know the dad, it's even amazing. So but no, I know, Jenner. I know, and you still cannot talk because you're not allowed to talk. We just let you know for people that Jenner is not allowed to talk. It's only between Greg,
Aw.
Jenner's dad, and myself. He's not allowed to talk for
Oh
here.
well. Oh
No, no,
well.
no. He's on the corner. He knows that. He knows that we're not entering this. We'll do another one. We're definitely going to do another podcast with you. And we're going to have Jenner talking at that time. But right now, he's not allowed to talk.
Okay.
No, no, it's all good. So, what is the best word of wisdom did you ever give? One of the top, maybe two word of wisdom did you give to Jenner?
Um, Religion and morality were a big hangup for him, because of his identity, and um, something that I had read um, at one point was the Gospel of Thomas, and um, it's a different way of looking at religion, really, which is probably the reason that it's not included in the Bible. And the way that it really looks at it is that
That's
there's a
okay.
dog's
Those are my dogs. Somebody's coming in, and Daddy is the warrior.
um, is that, you know, a church can be anywhere. It- and you know, the focus of the focus of the church should be love and not judgment, and and um, and that's really what I told him that religion really is about. It's not, it's not about Christian values or Hindu values or anybody else's values. Religion should really be the about love, because I think that's God's message, is that He loves us and He wants us to become the best versions of ourselves.
I agree
And
with you. It's the pure
so
love.
that
I
that
know some
that
people.
that that that's what I really wanted to impart to him, is, and to anybody else that cares to listen, is that, you know become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. I think that we come back time and time and time again, and I think the ultimate goal is to become the best version of yourself. And
And
you
that's,
know
yes, and learn our life lessons in order to grow and mature. I absolutely agree with you on your statement. And not only this, but remind people that the universe, I call it the universe is not there to bring the fear in us. It's pure love, it's unconditional love. So that's mean everything we do, we have our own free will. So we act upon what we feel like it. Now, every action has a reaction. Karma is always there to make us pay or wrong, even if people think we don't. You paid. You paid what I call it the quenta at the end of the day, no matter what. But the universe, aka God, or whomever you want to call it, is always pure love. It doesn't punish us. It's love, unconditional love. And I think a lot of people use the religion to bring fear in people, thinking he's gonna go and no, like, no, no, that's karma. That's different. Whatever you do, you
yeah,
have your own free will. So action brings a reaction automatically. But I think
yeah,
it's a very powerful to let know your child that it's love, it's the best version of yourself, and be who you truly are.
And the converse side of that is sin. When you do things that you know are wrong, and we've
Mhm.
all done them. We've all done them over and over and over again.
Yep.
You don't get rid of those ideas. You live with them for years and years and years and
Mhm.
years. You punish yourself with that sin, whatever it is, and you ask for forgiveness, but it's something that you carry in the back of your mind always. And the less you do that, the better your life is going to be. The more you know live your life not regretting the things that you've done, the better your life is going to be. And so should you follow the rules? Yeah, you should follow the rules. You shouldn't steal. You shouldn't kill people. You shouldn't, covet your neighbor's wife. You shouldn't do all these things. But really, what that boils down to is, you know, if you do those things, you're going to remember it. You're going to feel bad about it. You're going to regret it. And you're going to live with it for the most of your life. And they're just not things that go away. So, looking to reshape your life into um, something that you're proud of is I think the goal of religion. It's the goal of just being a happy person on this planet. You want to
And
you want to
I
be proud of
think,
who you are and what you've
yep.
done and where you've been and where you're going and how people remember you.
And accepting, I think the hardest part for most people, that's why sometimes we act in the way we want to act, it's accepting who we truly are. That's the hardest part.
Right.
Accepting who we truly are, accepting our spirit, accepting that this is who we are, and loving ourselves, actually. Because when you love yourself, that means you're connected with the universe, that means you're at peace. So, and
It,
that's a very difficult act to follow. May I say so? But when you can bring peace within your heart and accept who you truly are, then everything changes around, and you don't have to do anything wrong because you really start to really connect with people at a different level.
mm-hmm.
It changed. It
I,
changed for
I,
the
I
better.
think I think age probably has something to do with that. The older you get, the more you experience,
Mhm.
the more you figure out that fighting and hate and everything else just isn't worth it, and you look for more ways to be at peace with yourself and at peace with the world, and you kind of just tend to reshape who you are because
Yep.
you're not that young angry person anymore.
Nope.
You've grown up, and
Wisdom came.
if you're lucky enough to survive,
Yes.
you know you gain some wisdom and figure out what it's all about. And
Exactly, exactly. So, well, what I would like to do is, Greg, is to do another episode with you next month,
okay,
and we're gonna have Jenner in
okay,
mixed
okay,
in there next month. He cannot say anything today. He knows he's not in a doghouse, but I put him on the corner. I mentioned to Jenner, I said, you cannot talk. You cannot talk. So I wanted to talk to Dad. Today is
okay.
Dad's day.
All
And
right.
next month we will actually talk and do what we got to do to have Jenna with us as well and have a great interaction, because I'm sure there is some wisdom that's going to come out of it. But it was just a fabulous episode today. Thank you so much, Greg, for coming.
Thanks for having me. It was kind of fun. I enjoyed it.
Oh yes. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really did, and I think the words you spoke is going to be resonating with people who are going to listen to it as well and inspired. And that, to me, is what matters the most when I do my podcast. It's inspiring people, because that's the goal, inspiration. So it was a pleasure to have you with me today on Emma's Universe. And I do know that Jenner is back. Do you want to talk? You can talk now, Jenner. You can talk
Uh,
before we say goodbye. How you doing, Jenner?
I just gotta say, wow, that was an amazing episode. I cannot wait to just go back over every single moment of this and turn it into an audio masterpiece. And actually, I'll probably end up playing some music behind it.
Yes,
I
I'm
was thinking
expecting that.
instead of scoring, I'm actually thinking of actually just improvising something on the piano
Cool.
as
Yep.
I'm listening back to it. So that might be really interesting. No, but yeah, wow, just wow. See, I knew
Awesome.
I had this feeling. I'm like, you guys should talk.
I know. I wanted to talk to
Fantastic
your
episode.
dad. I wanted to talk to your dad.
It explains a lot. Yeah,
Good.
how I got so
Good.
cool. I have a real cool
Yeah.
dad.
Yes, you
we'll meet
do.
again. We'll meet again next month.
Yes, we are. We're gonna meet again next month. So thank you so much.
All right. No, thank you.
Bye bye.
The music in this episode by me, Greg Zeno, from the albums Origin and Polaris. Available for download and for license at studiostargazer.org.
Emma's Universe podcast.
Studio Stargazer.